Hey, Scott Leonard, Gomyoji Drones. Today we're getting into part 2 of the drone build for SDI's course UAS 213. Let's get started. Okay, here we are, part 2 of the UAS 213 drone build. So to get started, we have to prepare the top and bottom plate that's going to house the autopilot, which here we have the Pixhawk autopilot module. And the reason that we have to prepare this top and bottom plate is we'll be installing our vibration dampening grommets to attempt to isolate the autopilot module from the vibrations on the drone. So to do that, we have a top and a bottom plate. We also have these blue grommets. What we're going to do is put these grommets through the hole. A guy in my class, his name is Gage Blackheart. He had a suggestion that was to get some dental floss, wrap it around, put it through the hole on the plate, and then loop it around the end of the grommet and just to pull it through. Okay, not too difficult to get the grommets onto the bottom plate. Problem is going to be installing or getting these grommets through the top plate. As you can see, the top plate is smaller. The holes don't line up. Through the hole of the plate that we want to pull the grommet through, loop it around, and then we're going to loop it around the grommet, and then we're going to pull it through. Keeping tension on it so it don't come apart on me. And wow, that got it there. Oh yeah, real good. Good tip, Gage. I appreciate it. And let's go ahead and knock out the rest of these. I'll tell you what, the dental floss tip, fantastic. I thought I was going to be working on this for hours. So what we have now is the bottom and top plate connected with the vibration dampening grommet. And the next step that we're going to do is place the dampening plate onto the aircraft top plate. We're going to do that using these strips, double-sided tape, and it has to be seated off to the side to allow for the other avionics parts to be mounted. I'm going to go ahead and get this situated and taped up here, and then we'll go ahead and place the Pixhawk autopilot onto the anti-vibration or vibration dampening mount. So we've got the double-sided taped sponges on there. So we're going to kick it off to the side just enough that it will allow for the module to be part, and I'm going to go with that. And the orientation is to the front. I'm going to go ahead and press down on this so that that adhesive will be able to adhere to the top plate of the frame. I don't want to push too hard because the landing gear, I don't want to flex anything too much to where I'm going to crack or break something. And we're going to call that good. So that's in place. And the next step is we're going to take the Pixhawk autopilot. And as you can see, there's an arrow, and that is supposed to point for forward travel. So the way I'm setting my drone up is that the red legs are facing forward and white legs will be the rear of the aircraft. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing that we did with the vibration dampening plate. And I'm going to go ahead and place these attachment stickers onto the bottom of the autopilot here. When we place this, we want to make sure that it is in line as much as possible with the aircraft as far as parallel. with the travel or the front of the aircraft. We don't want to put it skewed over and, off cockeyed off to the side. It needs to be as straightforward as possible to minimize any deviation from the readings. I'm going to go ahead and call that good right there. And again, I'm going to press down and get that to seal. So far, so good. That is the assembly of the vibration dampening plate, attaching that to the top plate of the frame, and then taking the Pixhawk autopilot and placing that onto the top of the vibration dampening mount. The next step is to attach the avionics to the airframe. So we're going to start with the telemetry unit. And we will get this going by attaching the antenna. Snug that up. We're also going to need to get a piece of this 3M double-sided tape and attach the connection cable to the unit here. It's attached. And next, we're going to peel off the other tape backing. We're going to go ahead and place this in position, the rear of the aircraft, on the bottom plate. I'm going to save making all of the connections to the Pixhawk autopilot until the very end. That way I can take my time ensuring the cabling is nice and neat and everything's tucked away. So we have the telemetry unit attached. Next is we're going to do the same thing to the receiver module. We will place that on the top plate next to the autopilot. Now this receiver module will be placed on the top plate next to the autopilot. And we'll see right here. And we're placing the receiver right next to the autopilot. This antenna to the receiver unit, we are going to pass through the motor arm top to bottom in order to prevent it from being caught up in the air wash or the prop wash and potentially being chopped off, which would be a problem in flight. Next step is the GPS module. I'm going to set this aside because what we're going to need to do first is we are going to need to prepare the GPS mast. So here is the GPS mast kit. We have mounting screws, base plate, locking nut, the GPS base. So to start, we'll get this started. Okay, we want it tight enough to where this arm does not rotate just on its own. It'll take a little bit of force to move. There's a flat spot on the mast. I don't know if you can see that. To line up with the screw hole in the plate, the mounting plate, so that that set screw will tighten up against the flat portion of the mast so that it won't spin or come out. So we're set there. Next is the locking nut we'll place on top of the mast. This will, for transportation, we can bend the mast over to reduce the possibility of any damage to the GPS module or the mast. However, when it's time to fly, you can put it straight up, and then this locking nut will then screw down and lock the mast in the upright position. So I'm going to go ahead and take these screws off so that I can then place the mast here and then reattach these screws through the plate of the GPS mast and then tighten it down here and tighten it back up. Okay, I think that's going to do it. The GPS mast has been assembled and attached to the top plate of the airframe. And the next step is to take the GPS module and attach it to the top of the GPS mast. One thing to keep in mind is on this module, indented into the plastic is a direction, arrow front. And the arrow needs to be placed facing towards the front of the airframe in the direction of travel. We are here at the end of the second part of the drone build, and what we've done is we have installed the avionics to include the autopilot, the Pixhawk, which is the brain of the operation, and we also installed the telemetry transmitter, which connects to the base ground controller, and this component sends all the telemetry data from the Pixhawk to the controller. We've also installed the receiver, and the receiver receives the commands from the ground control controller, provides that information to the Pixhawk. We've also installed the GPS mast and the GPS receiver. This connects with the GPS system, and this module lets the drone know its exact coordinates, its location in space as it relates to the ground and the location on the surface of the Earth. And this also plugs directly into the Pixhawk. Then we installed the buzzer and also the safety switch. Now the safety switch is important because you will not be able to arm and start these motors unless the safety switch is pressed and held, I believe it's for 4 seconds, which takes that safety off and will allow you to arm the motors and start them. So without that, the possibility could exist that while you're working around the drone, that somebody could start the motors and you could get cut. We've also taken the opportunity to electronic speed controllers for each motor to the Pixhawk as well. And that concludes this portion of the drone build. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.